The truth about Hector is not what I was expecting. In fact, the more that I look at his kit, the more I'm like, oh my god. This dude is actually just like Huo 2.0, except we're not really talking about a 2.0 version. It's more like a 1.01 version. Like, the overlap with Hector's skills and Huo's skills is so shocking that, like, well, I'll show it to you, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's jaw-dropping. So this video is going to be all about why I think, although my initial reaction was, you know, Hector's pitched as this really versatile, pretty powerful dude. I think for Cavs, he's still got a role, and I do think from a versatility standpoint, it might be there, but from a power level standpoint, I'm pretty gosh darn anxious. So if you're subscribed to the channel, you know you can use the timestamps. If you aren't subscribed, I hope that you will consider doing so and that you get value from this video. Obviously, once we do testing, we'll know the full picture. But this active skill, it's got all these variations. Well, maybe we should start by looking at Huo's active skill, which you may recall is like 2,700 damage factor and a slow. So yeah, what are we doing? 2,700 damage factor. He has to be the primary commander, and he slows a target by 50% for 3 seconds. That I actually remembered it almost exactly as it is. So gee, single target damage. By the way, I am extremely suspicious of any single target damage these days. It feels like in any open field context, it's almost borderline irrelevance dead on arrival, I feel. Or at least you're looking at a 6 to 9 month timeline for a commander. It seems like when you get single target damage. The only exception has actually been Huo, who now I am so ready to be done with. He's not doing it. He's not getting results, and it's that single target damage that destroys him, which Hector has, single target damage. Ugh. Okay, so does this look familiar? We said 2,700 damage factor and some debuffing, right? Well, if you use him as infantry, then you're going to get only 2,600 damage factor. You actually get less damage factor, but you do actually make it so your allied troops nearby take less damage, except it's not going to stack with Philip because active skills don't stack. So that might actually just be nothing. So this might unironically be less valuable than like a Huo active skill if you use them with infantry. Ooh, okay. Well, cavalry, you got something interesting. Now you have more damage factor. A total of 2,800. Now, okay, 100 more damage factor, but like, hey, yo, that ain't that much more than a commander I'm trying to get rid of. And for the next 3 seconds, 5 nearby troops take more normal damage. That's a debuff that I think it stacks. Like, I don't think there are active skills that would conflict with. So like, oh, okay, that like kind of checks out. And if it's leadership or archers, 2,700 damage factor, which like, okay, the same as Huo. And then for the next 3 seconds, 5 nearby enemy troops deal 5% less damage. Okay, that's decent. And also they lose 15 rage per second for 3 seconds. That's actually the best thing. Funny enough, the leadership use of Hector might be the better use. The only reason I like the Cav version is because we need more ways to do combo damage now, but we might not like in 2 months from now. 3 months from now. So, you know, I'm like, okay, so gosh, this active skill looks a lot like Huo, but like, you know, it's not like the second skill is going to be nearly identical too, right? Well, let's see. 40% of stats and 20% of march speed. How does that compare? Okay, 40% of stats, 15% of march speed, and 5% more damage to archers. Gosh, is Huo's skill better and we're getting rid of him? Wait, hold on. I mean, Hector has defense and health. He has defense and health. Okay, so that opens Hector up to like maybe you could pair him with some sort of really glass cannon commander that you needed to survive. There's like an option there of like big AoE glass cannon-y thing paired with tanky thing. Okay, but then what about this skill? Well, the next skill is a little more tricky. It's got 2 different modes. One of the modes is that you get 10% more normal damage. The other mode, which only happens at the start of combat and can reset periodically, is 30% more skill damage and 150 less rage to use your active skill, which is amazing. So like he could have a very, very punchy start to his fight. Well, gosh, how does Hector's third skill kind of stack up here? Oh, wait, 10% less normal damage. Wait, that's awfully similar. This is familiar, isn't it? And then some other effect. Well, if it's infantry, You have a 50% chance to increase your smite damage by 15%. That's not as good as the ability on Huo, is it? That's not as good as the other ability on Huo, is it? And then for Cavalry, okay, the combo damage is really cool. Instant proc damage, I'm here for. 20% chance to launch an extra combo attack. 400 factor, can trigger 3 times. Cooldown of 10 seconds. But that could be cool. Okay. You know, that's comparable to Huo, but different, right? You got some instant proc stuff, which is why I said for Cavs, I feel like this could be a thing. And then otherwise, when you inflict a debuff, you take 5% less damage for 10 seconds, and it can stack. Duration doesn't reset. Its duration resets whenever it gains another stack. I mean, taking 10% less damage and 10% less normal. I feel like Huo's skill is unironically like better, with the exception of the instant proc damage, which is really like very different. Isn't Huo's skill? We just say Huo was better. So wait a minute. This guy's kind of comparable to Huo. Okay, that's not good. That's not good, is it? But what about this next skill? Maybe this is where we differentiate, right? Well, if this commander's troop is attacking another troop on the map, you got a chance for some extra normal damage or skill damage, depending on, you know, how you pair them up. Well, gee, that like sounds good until you realize it might not even align with your active skills. And you know, this is going to do some mental math here, but like the way I evaluate these sort of chance skills is I try to make an average. Because like it's all these numbers, it gets really confusing. But like a 50% chance to trigger means, you know, it triggers after 2 seconds on average. So the cooldown, we'll call it like an 8-second cooldown, effectively, between activations, and it lasts for 5 seconds, and it's a 30% bonus. So the way I do this is I'm like, okay, well, you know, 30% bonus times 5 seconds is 150. Divide by 8, and we're somewhere like less than 20% of the sort of like skill damage all the time. But like Esong is 50% plus his museum buff. I know that's not a fair comparison, but life's not fair. So what about Huo? Like, how does this very small boost compare to Huo? Surely this is more than what Huo's doing, right? If this commander's troop is attacking another troop on the map, gain 35 defense. Oh gosh, that's a lot. And deal 25% more skill damage. Wait, that's better than either of those modes that we got on Hector, isn't it? Wait, hold on, wait, so Huo's got a couple better skills than Hector has? Wait, hold on. Now, there's this whole autumn wind thing, and I know Huo's confusing, and some people say don't expertise him, and I like to expertise him in Canyon. This is really, really good, and in altar fights, I'm healing like crazy. There's different philosophies around this, because you get more damage if you're not resetting your rage. Blah, blah, blah. It's a little complicated. And okay, there is an expertise skill at play here. There's an expertise skill at play, influencing the strength of the heal you could get and the skill damage and the defense amount by 5% more skill damage, 5% more defense, a much bigger heal. Okay, well, what about the expertise on Hector? That's got to be really good, right? That's got to, like, you know, maybe it offsets. Well, 10% more damage is the best case situation, isn't it? I mean, unless you prefer 2 troop types, which you're not going to do, because leadership is, I'm confused. Are you confused? I am. So if you're not doing 2 troop types, you take less smite damage and combo damage and skill damage by 10%. Yeah, I'd rather just deal 10% more damage, personally. I guess if you're trying to make a super, super tanky march, like, there's some sort of, like, leadership canyon thing going on here with this new commander, I feel like. Because it's a lot of damage mitigation. Anytime you see a lot of damage mitigation, it's like, you could be a frontline Canyon, bro. I think there's a very, very likely outcome here where Hector is a frontline Canyon, bro. I am very, debuffing all the targets with the rage and those other debuffs. I think frontline leadership-y Canyon, bro, is likely to be a outcome that he has. But it's hard to say. Philip, has mixed use in Canyon. Sometimes you see him, sometimes we still see Trajan all over the place. Holy moly. Bro is still meta in Canyon in 2025. How crazy is that? And anyways, so wait a minute. If Hector is extremely comparable to Huo and Huo's not good enough, what are we doing here? Actually asking you, what are we doing here? And I think my takeaway is that he can serve I think in the best case as a cavalry commander to gap fill. What do I mean gap fill? We just don't have a bunch of combo cavalry commanders. Here he can be a combo cavalry commander. He can gap fill. Okay, he can fill that gap in your roster. But we're getting new cavalry combo commanders in 2 months that may just be better. So yeah, he can gap fill in the short term, and he can kind of gap fill in the long term as long as you don't mind a Huo level of power. Now, look, I could totally be wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong in this assessment. But y'all are smart. What do you think about my comparison here to Huo? Because it just seems real similar to me to Huo. And Huo is not good. He does not cut it. I mean, I get that in Canyon he can get some results for you, but like you're either popping AoE damage these days, or you're popping big instant proc damage. But ideally you're doing AoE damage, instant proc damage, all of it together. All of it, baby. All of it. And I don't think he's good enough to replace any of the archers. I mean, I guess you could make Zhuge Liang even more tanky, but he's already really tanky. And aren't you really happy with the poison debuffs that you're getting from Hermann Prime? Like, are we trying to bench Hermann Prime to put single target damage and lose out on the extra activations of active skills you're getting from Hermann Prime? I don't think so, right? Is that really what we're doing? I don't think so. So I think he fills the role of gap fill. I think if you were just getting to Season of Conquest and you needed a commander that you could move around, like, he could do that. But isn't Philip just kind of potentially better for that? I guess it depends. Like, if you had less than 5 marches, you kind of don't care about buffing 5 marches, which Philip does. So there's like some debate you could have there, but between the two of them, leave a comment down below. Maybe I'm misreading, but historically, leadership has brought us something very, 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 very clear. Like very clear. And let me show it in game to illustrate this. You see, leadership brings the buffs. Active skills, buffing like crazy. Okay? That's what Philip does. Leadership typically brings the buff. Active skills, buffing like crazy. So if he's meant to be the primary, it's not like I can just switch over my echelon stuff and start using it, because he doesn't do that. Like, he's not really buffing. He's not doing the thing that leadership has been doing. So I'm just confused. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with Hector. But the only thing, I actually don't think I'm that confused. I think it's like, well, I guess it's just gap fill is what that might be. And, you know, if you wanted another smite commander, he can do that for you, right? And like, there's certainly, I mean, would I say there's cool synergy? I guess so. I mean, is there some crazy synergy with BQ that I just like haven't seen? I don't think so. So, you know, the other thing he can do is he can give you a lot of defensive stats. But for infantry in particular, they already have a lot of defense. So again, I like find myself kind of scratching my head a little bit on that one. But, you know, BQ is actually very glass cannon-y. You could pair with BQ and get a good bit more stability and survivability, which I think is kind of interesting. But I don't know. I'm kind of struggling here with what I would do with this commander. So you let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. When we were getting a new leadership commander, I could not possibly have been more hyped. I was like, okay, the game sent players in a very obvious, clear direction of like, leadership is meta, and people invested in that. And then we were walking through the desert for like 2 years, directionless, until Philip came out. Aha. And then a year later, confusion again. So maybe in a year from now, we can expect direction that makes like that tracks with buffing a lot and the things we've been getting in open field leadership. I don't know. I don't. I'd love to know. But you know what you can count on? Well, even with cavalry, infantry, archers, like, we don't know what the archer mechanic might become. I think it's currently skill damage, but what might it become? Who knows? Some sort of skill damagey specialization of some kind, right? Like damage over time is a clear example. But, you know, for calves, we're still just getting to combo. We're pretty invested in Smite at this point. I don't know, folks. Leave your thoughts down below. If you do make them the primary, I like this kind of a talent build because I really want to slow enemies these days. I am liking slowing enemies. There's a part of me that feels like it doesn't do anything, but it theoretically does. I don't know, 25% just feels like a nothing burger these days, weirdly enough. So, you know, there is the alternative where you do, oh, this is a healing build. That's an interesting one. But here's the alternative, 2 points in rejuve, mono trooping over here. This is pretty debatable. It depends on how much you run it down, but 12% is a pretty meaningful amount of attack. Anyways, what I would expect leadership to do, given the talent tree enhances healing, is that like leadership would have, call me crazy, but like it would do a lot of buffing, and it would, because that's what commanders have been doing for leadership, unless they're flipping the script on us and the paradigm is changing, which like paradigms are changing for a lot of things, but I would expect healing to be involved, especially when you're giving us a support commander. Leadership support is like, you must want us to do healing, right? Because it's like huge healing boost here and like attack after you heal, but we're not seeing that. So I don't know. Those are the kinds of things I would kind of expect, like big buffs, big healing. Here we are. What are we doing with Hector? The truth is, I don't think, at least from appearances, he's all that different than Huo. And my video yesterday, if I could actually find Huo, my video yesterday was Rip Huo. So that's where I'm at. You enjoy the vid, throw a like on here, subscribe. I need your speculations down below in the comments. Please tell me. I need to know. And until next time, you have fun, smash your enemies. Watch yesterday's video where I said, Huo's going to the bin. I can't wait to do it. Card will be over there. Check it out.